Nintendo had been preparing Donkey Kong's triumphant return for years, and the moment has finally arrived. Donkey Kong Bananza presents itself as a complete reboot, offering a radically new and fresh concept that appeals both to veteran players and those discovering the series for the first time. The wait has been long, but the reward is a game that surprises, convinces, and captivates like few others have done before. What's truly special about this adventure isn't just its spectacular approach, but Nintendo's bravery in completely changing the rules of the game. Gone are the classic 3D platformers, now it's time to explore, smash, and discover alongside a new co-star who adds delightful chemistry to the Donkey Kong universe. In this review, we'll explain why Donkey Kong Bananza marks a turning point for the franchise and stands out as one of the key titles in Nintendo Switch 2 history. More than 2 decades have passed since Donkey Kong starred in a completely new adventure. Literally, since Donkey Kong 64 back in 1999, the ape hasn't had such epic 3D adventures. But Donkey Kong Bananza doesn't just bring back one of Nintendo's most powerful icons, it completely reinvents him, delivering a 3D adventure that marks a turning point for the franchise. Behind its development is the prestigious team responsible for Super Mario Odyssey, the same group that created masterpieces like Super Mario Galaxy, and this seal of quality is evident from the very first moments thanks to its exquisite art direction, refined gameplay, and a refreshingly original approach. This time, Donkey Kong works as a miner on Ingot Island, collecting mysterious banana gems until a meteor strikes, causing the island to collapse underground, dragging our hero along with it and starting a brand new odyssey. Down in the planet's upper layers, Donkey Kong meets an unexpected ally, Pauline. The classic damsel in distress takes a radical turn, becoming a full-fledged co-star and forming one of the most endearing duos we've seen in years. Their dynamic recalls the relationships between Sully and Boo from Monsters Inc. or Ralph and Vanellope from Wreck-It Ralph, a perfectly complementary pair brimming with charisma in every scene. And most importantly, Pauline hasn't been kidnapped this time. Instead, she chooses to join Donkey Kong on his journey to the planet's core, each with their own goal, recovering bananas and returning to the surface. The narrative approach is a huge success. Stepping away from Nintendo's classic cliches, Donkey Kong Bananza offers a far more original story, almost feeling like a brand new franchise. Yet it never forgets its roots, with nods to the entire history of the character, including a brilliant reinterpretation of Donkey Kong and Pauline's bond, presented here in its most charming and friendly form yet, exploring a character who's been with us practically since the dawn of video games. On their descent, our heroes must confront Void and its minions, a mysterious corporation determined to complicate their journey to the planet's core. Well, at first they might seem like a somewhat generic group of villains, but their development ultimately surprised us with a cast full of personality and several plot twists that elevate the story far beyond what players might expect. We're certain that fans, both old and new, will remember this game for a long time. Donkey Kong Bananza isn't just DK's grand return to video games, it's Nintendo's decisive first step toward placing him on the same pedestal as Mario, Zelda, or Splatoon. And with this game, they've gotten off to the best possible start. Donkey Kong Bananza could not exist on any previous Nintendo consoles. This game was conceived from scratch to take full advantage of the power of Nintendo Switch 2, and it shows from the very first second. It's not just another 3D platformer with huge worlds and free exploration. The entire terrain can be destroyed and terraformed at will, altering the entire environment to solve puzzles, access new paths, or face challenges. Donkey Kong's brute strength isn't just a narrative, it's fully playable. If something stands in his way, he breaks it. It's that simple. And such a wild and straightforward mechanic demands massive processing power to allow real-time environmental deformation, and the Switch 2 delivers impressively. Although we noticed occasional brief stutters when many elements appear on screen or during massive destruction, but these never seriously impact the experience, so we'll call them minor visual hiccups rather than actual game slowdowns. Dynamic resolution scales up to 4K thanks to the DLSS technology on Switch 2. On larger screens, some slight loss of definition can be noticed in distant areas, but overall, it remains consistently smooth at 60 frames per second. The destruction of environments has been implemented with such visual spectacle and effects that any small dips are cleverly disguised. Donkey Kong Bananza represents a complete artistic redesign of the franchise. Considering it's an underground adventure, one might expect dark and dull environments, but nothing could be further from the truth. Bananza offers landscapes full of light, color, and subtle contrasts. Some areas boast highly saturated palettes, while others are softer, and a few even embrace a monochromatic aesthetic dominated by reddish or green tones. It's an approach that initially surprises, but ultimately fits perfectly with the story's tone. Donkey Kong's visual redesign is another success. He's now much more expressive and charismatic, enabling better chemistry with Pauline, who already arrived with much more modern and up-to-date facial and body language. Both characters are animated so fluidly, you'd think you were watching a Pixar movie, and this younger version of Pauline radiates energy in every scene. DK and Pauline share incredible chemistry, conveying a wonderful visual narrative without needing many words. The soundtrack is among Donkey Kong Bananza's greatest achievements. It embraces the musical legacy of the series with stunning new compositions and unforgettable remixes of classics from legendary composers such as Grant Kirkhope and David Wise. Tribal rhythms, bongo percussion, exotic melodies, and synthesizers blend seamlessly to form a unique identity quite distinct from Nintendo's typical soundscape. Special mention goes to the main theme sung by Pauline and the catchy repertoire accompanying Donkey Kong's animal transformations. Furthermore, for the first time in the series, the game features full voice acting in several languages. Pauline's performance is so meticulous and full of personality that it inevitably recalls the magical and charismatic style of classic Disney characters. And though she is the only speaking character, her performance alone brings charm to the entire adventure. Attention to detail is especially evident in the game's sound effects, which feel like ASMR giving your brain a massage amid the violent destruction and gold coins bouncing across the screen. A reboot of Donkey Kong also deserved a reboot in terms of gameplay, or perhaps, more accurately, an adaptation. The team behind Mario's 3D Adventures has transferred their vision to Donkey Kong, making Bananza something very close to what players experienced in Super Mario Odyssey. The game's goal is to collect Banandium gems during the journey to the center of the planet. To do so, Donkey Kong and Pauline must explore their surroundings and destroy them if needed. This opens up the possibility of reaching certain objectives in a variety of ways. On one hand, you have complete freedom to play however you like, allowing for faster or slower progression since there are no barriers in this regard. On the other hand, there's constant satisfaction from breaking apart the environment and collecting Banandium gems, providing a continuous stream of dopamine for the player. Exploring environments is entirely optional and yet incredibly enjoyable and rewarding. For every 5 Banandium gems collected, Donkey Kong can upgrade one of his abilities, constantly expanding gameplay possibilities and further encouraging exploration. But bananas are far from the only collectibles. Fossils are also scattered throughout the map, used to buy and upgrade outfits and accessories for DK and Pauline. Meanwhile, gold and Banandium chips can be spent in shops to buy items that make the adventure slightly easier. Donkey Kong Bananza might seem simple at first, until you dig deeper and realize that breaking environments and finding hidden items isn't always so straightforward. And this concept goes even further. Some Banandium gems are locked behind mini-games or challenge levels. Others are hidden as puzzles within the open world itself. And still others can only be earned by interacting with subterranean inhabitants. So as you can see, exploration in Donkey Kong Bananza goes far beyond just breaking everything in sight. We were somewhat concerned that destroying environments would make them unrecognizable over time. In practice though, due to each area's distinctive aesthetics, every zone feels like a delightful playground where you're free to experiment. The gameplay twist comes from the Bananzas, transformations into giant animals that help Donkey Kong traverse the map and interact even more with the environment. They might be slightly overpowered, but they're fun to use, very original, and don't simplify the experience enough to break the game. We were genuinely surprised by the fluidity achieved in Donkey Kong Bananza. The essence of DK's classic movement is perfectly preserved, but has been made more agile, allowing him to navigate environments effortlessly. Additionally, the experience is almost uninterrupted, with loading times capped around 5 seconds and instant teleportation between areas. Here's where the blazing fast storage capabilities of Nintendo Switch 2 truly shine. Given its highly open-ended nature, every player will advance at their own pace, with playtime ranging from 7 to 8 hours up to over 40 hours for those wanting to discover everything. Furthermore, after completing the main adventure, there's something special for players eager to dive deeper. A notably challenging post-game awaits them. To round off a nearly flawless experience, Donkey Kong Bananza features a 2-player mode where one player takes control of Pauline. The character remains riding atop Donkey Kong, but can use her voice to break parts of the environment. You can use either a Switch or Switch 2 console or one of the Joy-Con 2 controllers to play with mouse-like controls or motion controls. Using a pointer, the second player can throw words made of various materials to help the main player's exploration. While this variant slightly breaks the original dynamic, it allows 2 players to enjoy almost the entire adventure together. Undoubtedly, the game is impressive in handheld mode. With performance even more stable than in TV mode, it seems incredible that a game of this scale runs smoothly on hardware that fits in the palm of your hand. The photo mode is inherited directly from Super Mario Odyssey, albeit with improvements that allow more camera movement and more precise, pleasing blur effects. With this mode, and the expressive nature of the characters, you can take some amazing screenshots. However, we did miss the option to change Donkey Kong's facial expressions, something available in games like Mario Kart World. And as has become customary with major releases, Nintendo has launched an amiibo figure of Pauline and Donkey Kong wearing a new costume inspired by Pauline's outfit from Super Mario Odyssey. These amiibo figures are compatible with the game, and although the extra content is appreciated, it isn't something truly worth the extra cost unless you simply want an adorable figure of the 2 protagonists. Donkey Kong Bananza is exactly what the series needed. A triumphant return that's ambitious enough to stand alongside Nintendo's biggest franchises. The game masterfully blends free exploration, innovative gameplay based on environmental destruction, and stunning audiovisual design that fully leverages the capabilities of Nintendo Switch 2. While there are minor technical aspects that could be refined, they don't significantly impact the overall experience. The chemistry between Donkey Kong and Pauline is among the game's highlights, giving it a unique personality that captivates from the very beginning. The story, simple at first glance, grows richer with surprising twists and a setting brimming with originality during an intense journey to the planet's core. Gameplay ideas blend perfectly with Donkey Kong's classic essence, delivering an addictive, varied exploration experience that's hard to put down. Donkey Kong Bananza isn't just a reinvention of a classic franchise. It's the game that should make you buy a Nintendo Switch 2. Nintendo has successfully brought Donkey Kong back to the forefront, proving once again they're not afraid to experiment and still know exactly how to revolutionize the classic formula without losing its core essence. What did you think of Donkey Kong Bananza? Subscribe to the channel to stay updated on everything Super Mario and Nintendo Switch 2, and here are some of our latest videos. Thanks for watching. See you next time.